So I'm going to show you a Betfair trading strategy in action that is timeless. It's a great strategy for beginners to start with and develop because this Betfair trading strategy works in every single market, and also with experience and the right situation you can really scale up those profits when you're using it. I'm sharing my screen here and I want to get straight into it, showing you how and why it works. But to give you a quick heads up, there's 3 screen recording examples rolled into one in this video you're watching now. I've recorded the first 3 races of the day back to back in order to show you how this works over and over again. The results vary between the 3 races, although we'll be making the best part of £100 profit in a little under 30 minutes. I'll explain what I'm thinking and what I'm doing as we go. So looking at the first race of the day on Betfair here, I notice a few things of interest straight away. By the way, if you're new here and the interface is confusing for you, I'm using a third-party software application that allows me to see and react to Betfair's exchange markets in real time. So starting off with that first race then, I'm going to take you through the sequence that I'll typically go through per race with my thoughts. Now I'm looking at time form in the background here, just have a little look at this race to see if there's any standout differences or irregularities. What I'm not doing is reading form, okay? I'm not trying to read form, predict where the price is going to go. I'm just looking at, is there a horse that's on its debut that hasn't run for a long time? And then if I spot large amounts of money in the marketplace in line with that, then I know that it's something that could be unfolding. Next, I'll take a look at the different runners in the race. As you can see, I'm doing the top right there, just so I can have a look at their charts along the bottom, the traded volumes along the right, and the current price that they're at, just as, again, to see if there's any standout differences, any sort of nasties that you might not see if you hadn't looked at this, whereby a horse is being backed heavily or is going a horrendous drift. Now, next thing from there is to take a look at the market overview, take a look at the ladders, see the relationship between the different runners and their historical price activity, because recent volume changes are likely to have a big impact on what happens in this live show in a few minutes time when you see the trades unfold. The overround in the marketplace actually ensures that all prices are relative to each other. So some may be aware of this, but basically if one goes down, something else has to go up, although there is a bias towards the front end of the book. Now I'm looking at one of the outside runners there on the 4th ladder because the price has actually come in a little, which is where I then move over to time form just to check a little bit more there again. But what I'm trying to find here is there something that's going to push down heavily in one direction that's being backed, that's happening now, that's not necessarily happened throughout the day, that's happening now or gonna likely to unfold more so now, because that will affect other runners within the marketplace. So I'm building up a bit of an overall view and image on what's actually happening in front of us here on the screen. So comparing the runners, and I'm not predicting, that's what I really want to get stuck in here, because a lot of people think, oh, you predict the price because you read the form or something like that. We're not predicting the price. It's quite early on, highlighting the time over on the left there. We are just looking for changes, and then we're going to be reactional to those changes as they unfold, which is where the strategy comes in, which we'll talk about more in just a second. So we're looking to profit no matter what happens here on this race before it starts. We're going to lock in a profit with the prices moving, or that's what we aim to do anyway. So we're getting a current idea, we're getting up to speed, we've built up our image, and now it's a case of keeping an eye on what's happening in the market activity. You can just place the lay bet there on the favourite because it looks like the favourite's drifting out here. I was thinking, can you get matched for a very small amount, see it take a few ticks early doors, because it seems quite obvious to me right now the 2nd, 3rd, 4th runners are all coming in and the favourite is weak. So there's 3 versus 1, which means, is this a 50-50 decision? Because when you're trading a price, it can only go 2 ways. It can go up or it can go down. It's not 50-50 decision all the time, which is where trading comes in, but it's 50-50 on the outcome. So we're looking for a situation where it's more likely to move in one direction when really it can only move one of 2 directions. So the strategy is to find that bias in the money, in the marketplace as it happens, and then exploit that move as it's happening and while it's happening, rather than trying to sort of get out our crystal ball and do the Mystic Meg thing of predicting the future. So longer term view is what we're looking at here, because there's lots of market noise, which we'll talk about a bit more in a second, but when the market activity picks up, because this is very early on right now, 6 minutes before the start, and there's more money matched, there will be more market noise, there will be prices bouncing around very short term, but what we're looking for is a slightly longer term action there and the reason for it and finding that bias. So looking at the top, there's £52,000 matched on this horse race. It's a 2-mile national hunt flat race, which means that there's a low amount of form, therefore the prices are probably more likely to move, because the marketplace is made up of opinion. And how can you have a huge opinion on a race where there's very little form and people don't know a lot about the runners? One other thing that I failed to mention previously is I do cross-check occasionally towards Checker, a couple of other different sites. It doesn't matter too much. Typically, bookmakers' prices follow the exchange prices. But again, just looking at the times, if you wasn't aware, if you click on the names on Odds Checker there, it will show you the times at which they updated their prices. Obviously, it is affiliate fees, so it is slightly delayed. But you can start to see that overall pattern of activity, looking for that bias that's likely to unfold in the live show in the next few minutes. So if I speed up this recording just now to bring you to where the action is, I'll explain what's going on and why. So I'm more interested in the second runner here than anything else in the race. I'm bearing in mind the relationship between the others, as you can see on the market overview on the side there. But the second favourite, Boot and Shoe here, appears to be the money horse, as I'd call it, the horse that's attracting a little bit of support inside the live shows. We're coming to the interesting end of the market now, last 3.5 minutes. But one thing I want you guys to remember here is a lot of the work is actually done before this point, okay? So I've already built up my opinion, and it's a case of sitting and watching, being disciplined, understanding what's likely to happen, and then remaining flexible in my view and how I approach and deal with this race, because things do change. So I've placed a couple of lay bets in the market there on these two runners. I'm not 100% sure which one's going to come back in there. I'm thinking, potentially the favourite could turn on its price here. It may continue. The second favourite is more interesting out of the two. But I'm placing those lay bets in the market away from the active price, which is the price where, the touch price is where those two prices meet up in the middle there. Because if the price starts to come towards us, I'll already be in a favourable position at the bottom of the queue with my lay bets in the marketplace already. So as this picks up and as this comes onto the live TV, you may have just heard that in the background just there. They're just starting to cover this race. The horses aren't actually down at the start on the screen live right now. But once we get to that point, that's where we're going to see the liquidity and the fill rate in the market pick up significantly. Now, this is a quiet time of the year also. So if you can do this on these races, then you'll find it a lot easier later on in the year during the flat season. You'll see that I'm just started to open a position there back in Boot and Shoe, because you see around about that time I clicked that, if you go back and look at the recording, is when there was a flurry of money that came into the marketplace. It was confirming what I already believed, and we're in that active window where there's more liquidity, there's more at stake, and there will be more pressure in the marketplace. So although there's a low amount of money on the backside of the book there sat in the marketplace, we have got money to get out against for the size of stake that I'm on. I don't want to be too overexposed, but we're in the window where there is significant money that comes into the marketplace. If you're trying to do this sort of 20 minutes before the start, you're leaving yourself in an exposed position when it comes to risk, because there's not that active fill rate in the marketplace which can actually match your orders and allow you to get out of the position, whether it's win or whether it's lose. So that's one thing to bear in mind also there. Now I've noticed over on the fourth runner there, which is sort of maybe a little bit skittish on this, the fourth runner on the right of the ladders there is also attracting significant money. Now in an ideal world that wouldn't be happening, so all of the action would be on the runner that I'm looking to trade here. So I'm just going to scale out a little bit of my position there, 50 quid, because I'm on for 200. This is a low liquidity market and it isn't going crazy right now, but I still believe at this point in time I've not completely bailed on my view or understanding of what's happening, because I'm not looking super short term and looking at that noise as I previously mentioned. I'm looking at the sort of more medium term, slightly longer term, the next minute or so, as things pick up proper on the TV and there's more liquidity in the marketplace. You'll see there's more stakes gone in the market there, and I'm looking for a little bit more of a move. I believe that this could come down to sort of 4.0 and below. I think it's probably quite likely that it will, given the fact that this horse attracted more money in the marketplace than the others. The only one that's slightly unnerving me at the moment right now, looking at the screens, is the one over there on the fourth ladder. And also I'm keeping eye on the favourite the whole time too, because the favourite is the shortest price in the marketplace, and the shorter the prices are, the more influence they have over the entire market, because they hold the largest percentage of the book. Now, if this doesn't get moving in a second and that liquidity really arrive proper, TV is now coming on, so we're looking in a better position now. But if that doesn't arrive proper, then I'll be looking to get out of this position and filter out pretty soon, because I mean, we're past POV time, but this race is certainly not going to go off on time. Horses are sort of loitering down near the start, but they're not actually ready yet. So this is where it's the make or break situation. May have to close out for sort of £8 loss at this point in time if things don't pick up. But I'm really not too worried about that unmatched money on the lay side of the book. That's something that I think a lot of the time new traders that are beginning get a little bit unnerved about, and they see sort of like, oh, there's 1,500 quid there. How's that going to possibly ever get through it? And it doesn't really mean a lot, because once the price starts to move, those numbers, they're not totally irrelevant, but it's less important. So there we go. We've got the topple. The momentum has come into the marketplace, and it is close to the start. So I've just, I've not really been left much time to let this move develop, so I've just closed that straight away. It was unnerving me, and again, I can see over on the fourth ladder still there's a little bit of money for that horse. It's obviously a bit of interest for that horse too. I'm not even going to try and say its name, but the horse that I'm really not too bothered about in this situation was the third. That was the least interesting out of the lot, and also you'll see I've highlighted on the market overview there. You can see that outside the grey line has come in also, just flicking through the different runners there, because the race is about to go off. So first race there, 26 quid, wasn't the best example in the world. Played it about right. Now the price, sod's law, the price has come into 11 to 2. It's come all the way down to 3.75 now. So we was right all along, but we did need to remain confident in what I was doing on the screen, and bearing in mind, is this a 50-50 decision? It's certainly not a 50-50 decision, and then not leave themselves massively overexposed. So there you go, the race has gone off in play, and then if we head over to the Betfair website, just to show the traded bets on this runner and to see the difference between the two prices there. So you can see a difference between the back and lay once that refresh there, and that's how we've ended up with that profit over on the left hand side of the screen. So if we move on to the second example, now I'm going to save you the spiel that we went through on the previous one. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm doing the same routine, same systematic approach, looking at the race, seeing what's going on. So the recording is playing at double speed here, and we're going to just fast forward through to the most interesting part of the race, where the action is, what's actually going on. So whilst this is playing at double speed, if you just bear in mind, take a look at those dark green bars on the traded volume on the right hand side of each column, because that shows us where the recent money is being matched, just so you can get that little bit of foresight sort of speeded up without wasting your time. Now at this point in time, again, it looks like the favourite's quite weak. It looks like the second has sort of took a little money, maybe the third, but nothing really too notable. However, this is a short price. This is a weak short price. It's a 3-mile novice handicap chase at Exeter, and therefore I've put a couple of back positions further up the ladder, thinking that potential this is a 2v1 situation again. So is it 50-50 that this is going to drift? I don't believe so in this instance. So that's why I've got those back bets in the marketplace there, and you'll see that I've just had we'll slow this recording down now. I've just had a lay bet matched at 2.74, very small stakes, because this is slightly earlier than I like to get involved in the market. Now the reason it's slightly earlier is similar to what I said in the last video. It's not being covered on TV properly yet. There's not lots of action, and so we haven't got the full-on fill rate. The difference being, on the slightly shorter prices, you can use slightly larger stakes more comfortably, because there's always larger amounts of money being matched in the marketplace. So it looks like on first glance that that third, I'm highlighting it with the cursor there, you can see that third's taking a little bit of money, which is providing a little bit more imbalance in the marketplace. So we're looking for the drift on the favourite, although looking back on this, I was thinking, at the time I was thinking it as well, this has not really took off at the speed I'd like to have seen it take off. There's not any other standout indicators or massive influences outside, like to do with the race, or maybe this horse hasn't run or anything like that, that makes me think that this would go adrift. I'm purely trading the numbers. I'm looking for more bias in the price movement than 50-50 really, and then just playing it as we go there without overexposing myself on stakes. So these are low stakes, nothing to get excited about, and I like to work into the market sometimes like this, and you'll see on those markets where the price starts to really move and there's large volumes come, you gain more and more confidence, and that's where the stakes increase and I start putting on 2, 3, 500, £1,000 on at a time. Now price hasn't really taken off, and I'd like to see a bit more money for the third. Again, it's early, and that's why I'm kind of playing this as it is. It's almost like, dare I say it, I always say don't do those maybe trades, because you know, if it's a maybe you shouldn't really be doing it, but this is more towards the end of the spectrum whereby I don't have a hugely strong opinion. I just think that it's likely that there's going to be a little bit of movement, so I'm playing around. Now I realise that obviously whilst I was trading the screen, I'm sort of having the same thought process over again, and so I've closed out the position. So we're at 42p green. I couldn't care less whether it's green or red at this point in time, because I'm not getting involved on significant stakes until I'm confident, which is something that's really worth highlighting, because a lot of new traders in particular, and all traders of all levels do this too, need to realise and recognise that it's not just what you do in the market all the time, it's what you don't do. So what I'm not doing is getting myself in a precarious position here by feeling the urge to place bets and get them matched and be doing something, because we're only 2 minutes from the start, which can be late. But the interesting thing here really is the fact that although there's a little bit of money coming in for the favourite right now, the market is actually resisting it. So it's not changed significantly in direction. So I'm wondering right now, is this going to be a case that, you know, the market's going to bounce back, the true direction might be the drift and the favourite, and therefore something else is going to come in. You see a little bit of flurry of money on the second favourite there, keeping an eye on the fourth too. But if the favourite should ping back out and go a significant drift, it means something else is going to, you know, it's going to open up the floodgates for something else to come in sort of a quite quick succession. So I'm trying to work out which runner is that going to be at this point in time. That's the kind of thought process that's going through my head. In reality, I don't really know, because it's a little bit of a flat market this. There's not a distinct bias with one particular runner where the price is almost certainly going to be moving in the direction that we want to see. So again, that favourite's being resisted. It's all hinging around the favourite here, because the favourite's a short price which has the most control over the marketplace. And I'm thinking the second could be the one that pings in as the favourite goes out. Now I'm kind of preempting that and anticipating that, but it's not really happening on the favourite at this point in time. So, you know, I'm being very flexible in the way I'm viewing the market right now, and even now, replaying this and looking at it, I'm thinking probably should be back in the favourite, which is what I'm doing right now there. And that is because, you know, the market can only sustain resistance for so long, and after a while resistance becomes support, and if it breaks through that resistance point which it was struggling at there, then it then becomes supporting, which is what we're seeing now, and we're seeing the shortening of the favourite there. But we're really close to the start of the race. It's all happened a little bit too late. It wasn't very clear. It wasn't that obvious that bias was going to take place, and therefore it should be the one that we're exploiting. So I've closed out for £3.76 there. It could have been better, certainly. I don't think I played this market badly. It was just a little bit of a frustrating market, which happens day in, day out, believe it or not, and taking 2-3 quid sometimes is something that you just have to do. So if we move on to the third and final race, this one's a bit more interesting, a little bit clearer, a bit of a better example for people that are looking to use this Betfair trading strategy. So the third race is Newcastle race, the third race of the day. And you can see we're 8 minutes from the start. Market's not active at all at this point in time. A little bit more money matched on this one, slightly more interesting, 2-mile novice race. So looking at the Betfair charts along the bottom there, because they're always good to sort of weigh up against each other, although you do need to bear in mind that there is no timestamps on the Betfair chart, so it can provide some slightly warped information. We've got a separate video on the channel, we'll put in the end screen about that if you want to see that. But I'm comparing them against each other at this point in time. Again, I'm trying to work out where is the money coming now, where is the money been, where is the bias, what is overpriced, underpriced, and where are we going to get more than a 50-50 outcome on a position we take. Seeing the dark volume bars, you can see money coming into the market recently. Got that set up on the Geeks Toy for the last 40 seconds or so. So at this point in time, I'm just trying to get a bit of a feel for what's going on. Now, we'll fast forward the recording a little bit once more up until the slightly more interesting stuff. But you can see while we're fast forwarding this here, that the significant money, or the sustained money, if you like, has been on this North Parade on the favourite there. It's been quite continuous throughout the last minute or two, and as we lead into the last sort of 4.5 minutes where the market gets a little bit more tasty, we get the action on the TV. I've got the live video on my separate screen, by the way, for anyone who's wondering there, monitoring that at the same time, because although people like to get arbitrary figures, you know, when will the market pick up? I can't turn around and say to you 4 minutes every single time, because it varies. The TV channels vary, when their adverts on vary, who's, you know, different coverage, a different interest is always changing. So you need to be flexible and malleable with that too, which is probably a large part of the problem for people that are trying to trade successfully a lot of the time, because a lot of different things are kind of moving. But more money coming in for the favourite there. So this is looking relatively significant. Also the third, you can see that there's a little bit of a flurry there. In fact, the third is looking a little bit more tasty given its price. Now the reason I want to say that is, look, this price is up here at 6.2. We see a little bit of money for that previously. The only one that's really pushing against that in the alternate direction is the favourite. Now the favourite is coming down to the 4.0, which is a crossover in the prices, which adds additional resistance for the price contracting. So I'm looking for, again, a little bit similar to that previous race, a bit of a pivot situation where, you know, if the favourite bounces back out, this third favourite is now in the second ladder, is being supported, then we can sort of take that fulcrum and ride that little bit of momentum, where obviously, you know, it's certainly not a 50-50 situation. So having had a look at the odds checker prices as well, this third favourite has already had some previous interest throughout the day. So it's an interesting situation here, even though that's maybe not depicted very well on the Betfair chart down the bottom there. But this horse appears to be interesting, which is Out My Way, if you want to call it, if that's how it's pronounced. I'm terrible at pronouncing horse names. You can see over on the left there, on the market overview, that is quite clear too. The blue line is the horse that I've got an open position on here. So I'm taking a slightly longer term view, sort of more of a medium to slightly longer term view on this at this point in time. And it's all about sort of, I mean, I feel quite confident looking at this, having seen all the different factors on the build up, which is where most of the work is done. But if this bounces against us, then I can close out quite quickly on a 150 stake there. It's just a double click, and the activity is picking up. So one thing that I really want to highlight also is a lot of the actual movement, proper movement that's sustained and more, I don't want to use the word predictable, more obvious, that unfolds is usually in the last few minutes, okay? And sometimes it can be the last minute, which seems really counterintuitive to anyone who's trying to make money from trading, because they're, you know, they're used to having an hourly rate and all that kind of stuff. But it's more like you sit and watch for a few minutes and then you make all of your money in the space of 2 minutes most of the time. So just bear that in mind. But look, the price is ticking down in our favourite, in our favourable direction, sorry. Just having a quick look at the time form cards there again, see if there's anything I've missed. And it's always a case of, what have I missed? What's changing? What is likely to affect this price movement? But the price is starting to go in our direction. So I'm not going to close out the position. As the saying goes, you've got to let your profits run and you've got to close out your losses that bit quicker. We're now in the period where there's better flow of money in the marketplace. There's more money ticking up, and it's easier to get out of our position, be it win or loss. So I'm going to use that to my benefit. What I'm not going to do is panic and go, oh, I'm in green, and take the money straight away, which I think is probably something that a lot of people do, particularly when they're new in. But at this point in time, I'm constantly asking myself the same question. With this Betfair trading strategy, is it more, is it a 50-50 decision, the price goes up and down right now, or is it more favourable in one direction than the other? Now I've got a lay position in the queue there. I think there's a good chance that will get matched in the next minute or so. Hopefully we'll get a price even shorter, and this will be a more predictable situation, whereby it was predictable in the sense that money was flowing into the market. So I was already riding the wave that was already happening, is what I'm trying to say, rather than taking a punt on, I think this horse is going to shorten because, you know, it ran well last time, or whatever. So here's the interesting thing that probably I'm not talking about enough right now, is the money falling into the market. Look at the active money falling into the market. No fancy gizmos or things required, or deep form reading, or secrets, right? It's just a plain old-fashioned money falling into the market. You can see money is falling in on the backside. The back money is taking the lay money, it is driving the price down, okay? And that was happening on a lower scale earlier on, but now we're into the business end of the race. It's actually happening continuously and with larger stakes and continuing. So I'm full of confidence at this point in time. It's only the fact that, 38, we had to close that out now. It's only the fact that the race is due to go off and the horses are just coming out onto the course. I think the race goes off about a minute or so late in the end. But here's our position over on Betfair, again just to show you the bets that are matched against each other back and late, and that's how we close out a profit for 38 quid in that particular race, no matter what the result. So hopefully that video has been of use in terms of your Betfair trading strategies. If you found it useful, please don't forget to tap the like button down below, check out the links in the description, and I'll see you on the next one.